We grow up thinking money is a thing you chase, something out there glowing, elusive, powerful. We imagine one day, if we work hard enough, we'll finally catch it. But what if the secret isn't about chasing money? It's about understanding how it moves. Most people interact with money in 4 steps. They borrow, earn, spend, and save. The order sounds simple, but the sequence you choose defines whether money becomes your tool or your master. Some people earn first, save next, and only spend what's left. Others borrow before they earn, spend before they save, and end up living in cycles of stress. Now here's the twist. What if I told you both approaches can make sense, depending on how you think? Because money isn't moral, it's not good or bad. It just obeys whoever understands it better. When people say, avoid debt at all costs, what they usually mean is, I don't trust myself with borrowed power. And that's fair. Debt in the wrong hands ruins lives. But in the right hands, it builds empires. The difference isn't the interest rate, it's the mindset behind it. Think about it. Someone once told me, you should only borrow when you're desperate. Another person said, borrow when you see an opportunity, others don't. Both are right, but only one of them will ever own anything worth borrowing for. Most of us learned about money through silence. Our parents didn't talk about it. Schools didn't teach it. So we grow up learning from fear instead. Fear of debt, fear of loss, fear of risk. We clutch our wallets and call it responsibility. But fear disguised as caution is still fear, and fear doesn't build wealth. Curiosity does. Let's start there, with the quiet difference between people who stay broke and people who grow wealthy. The broke person looks at a $1,000 loan and sees a burden. The wealthy person looks at the same loan and sees a bridge. Same numbers, same bank, different vision. It's not about being reckless, it's about being intentional. Wealthy people don't take risks for fun, they take calculated leaps because they know where they'll land. I met a man once, middle-aged, serious, proud of his career. He'd worked 30 years in the same company, earned promotions, and owned 2 homes. When I asked if he'd ever thought of starting something of his own, he laughed. He said, that's for dreamers. I have a family to feed. He wasn't wrong, but he also wasn't free. He believed wealth came from loyalty to a paycheck, not loyalty to a vision. He measured success in years served, not value created. And behind his confidence was fear, the fear of failing publicly, of being seen as foolish. I asked him, if you already have money, why not try? He said, what if I lose it? I asked, what if you don't? He didn't answer, because deep down, he'd already decided what kind of life he deserved. That's the real difference between the poor and the rich. The poor think in terms of protection, the rich think in terms of creation. Protection ends when you run out of walls. Creation never ends. People often think the rich are fearless. They're not. They just fear different things. They fear stagnation more than failure. They fear comfort more than risk. The young entrepreneur once said, when I was broke, I had nothing to lose. That's why I started. It wasn't courage. It was necessity. But over time, he learned that real wealth isn't about starting when you're desperate. It's about never stopping once you see potential. The older man, with 2 homes and steady income, couldn't imagine that, because his world taught him the goal of work is safety. But safety is just a polished word for control, and money by nature resists control. It flows, it circulates, it rewards movement. Those who hoard it lose it slowly to time and inflation. Those who use it multiply it through motion. That's the paradox. To grow your money, you must let it go. But to let it go, you must stop fearing it. And that begins in your mind, not your wallet. If your first instinct when hearing the word debt is anxiety, ask yourself, who taught me that? If your first thought about risk is loss, ask, what did I see growing up that made me believe safety was everything? Money is emotional before it's mathematical. Change the emotion, and the numbers will follow. Let's keep going. The next part will explore why borrowing, when done wisely, can be a tool of the wealthy, and how mindset shapes every financial decision you make. When people hear the word debt, they imagine chains. But for the wealthy, debt is a lever. It's how they move mountains other people are afraid to climb. There's a quiet truth behind every successful story. At some point, someone borrowed confidence disguised as money, because that's what a loan really is. A promise that your future self will be more capable than your current one. That's also why most people never borrow for anything that builds wealth. They borrow for comfort, not creation. For a car, not a company. For a vacation, not an investment. And that's how the cycle repeats. The difference isn't the interest rate, it's the intention. A person afraid of losing money will never multiply it. because growth is born from motion, not caution. You can't protect your way into prosperity. Let's talk about confidence. It's easy to say, I'll start once I have enough. But enough is a moving target. When you finally reach it, fear moves the goalpost a little further. So, you wait again, thinking you're being careful, but really, you're just postponing your potential. I've met people who never dared to start because they didn't know anyone rich. But look at communities where wealth is common, places where entrepreneurship is a language, children grow up hearing. In those environments, risk feels normal. Failure is just part of the rhythm. When everyone around you builds, you stop asking if you can and start asking how. That's why your environment is your first investment. The conversations you hear shape your ceiling. If you only talk to people who fear debt, you'll learn to fear it too. If you talk to people who use it to build, you'll start to see opportunities where others see danger. Money moves toward people who treat it like a tool. It avoids those who worship or fear it. Because money isn't loyal to anyone, it follows direction. Think of it like water. It flows toward whoever creates the best channel. If your channel is narrow, just a job, just a paycheck, it trickles. If you widen it with ideas, systems, and ownership, it floods. A wise friend once told me, you can borrow money. You can't borrow belief. The richest people in the world aren't those who never failed. They're the ones who believed long enough for success to catch up. And belief doesn't come from reading quotes online. It comes from proof. The small wins that tell your brain you can do this again. That's why starting small matters. Each little win strengthens your financial courage. Now let's look at something uncomfortable. Most people think the opposite of poverty is wealth. It's not. The opposite of poverty is confidence. Confidence to decide differently, to act early, to keep going when it looks foolish. A person with confidence but no money can still create wealth. A person with money but no confidence will lose it eventually through fear, hesitation, or poor choices. So if you're building your financial freedom, your first project isn't an investment portfolio. It's your mindset portfolio. Fill it with experiences that challenge your old patterns. Read books that make you question your limits. Talk to people who have what you want, not to copy them, but to understand how they think. You'll start noticing something. The wealthy speak in possibilities. The poor speak in fears. Same world, different vocabulary. Now let's move to the practical part. How the wealthy think about borrowing, growth, and using debt as a bridge instead of a trap. When the wealthy borrow, they don't see it as losing control. They see it as buying time. Time to build something bigger than what cash alone could create. They don't borrow for survival. They borrow for scale. They ask, if I had more capital, how much faster could I grow? And then they find the safest way to make that growth happen. They treat every dollar as an employee. Each one has a job. Some build systems, some create products, some advertise those products to the world, and when those dollars come back with friends, they get rehired. This mindset is why the rich rarely borrow from friends. They know relationships and money don't mix well. When money becomes emotional, decisions become blurry. They go to banks, investors, or institutions, not because they love interest rates, but because they love boundaries. A contract is cleaner than a favor. They understand something simple. If a deal can't survive paperwork, it won't survive profit either. Another difference is how they think about collateral. Many people fear using their assets because they think of it as losing them, but the wealthy use those assets to create new ones. They might mortgage one property to buy another. They might borrow against an investment account to fund a business. To them, assets are soldiers, not trophies. If those soldiers just stand still, they're useless. The same rule applies to their mindset. They believe the safest place for money isn't the bank, it's inside something that grows. That could be a business, a piece of real estate, or even a skill that multiplies their value. They know that money standing still slowly dies. This doesn't mean recklessness. It means understanding that control comes from knowledge, not from fear. Before they borrow, they study. Before they invest, they learn. The risk never disappears. They just learn how to see it clearly. A friend once told me, rich people don't have fewer problems. They just buy better ones. A poor person might worry about paying rent. A rich person might worry about a fluctuating market. Both have stress, but one of them gets to choose which stress they carry. Money doesn't remove fear, it shifts it. The goal is not to live without risk, but to learn which risks give something back. That's why in wealthy circles, borrowing is not handful. It's a language of trust. If a bank gives you money, it's not because they feel sorry for you. It's because they believe in your ability to multiply it. Debt, in that sense, is just borrowed credibility. You use it to prove you're worth believing in. And once you do, people line up to give you more, not out of charity, but out of confidence. Now let's talk about the myth of financial freedom through saving, because most people think saving is the finish line, when it's really just the start. Saving feels safe. It's the first thing we're taught about money. Work hard, spend less, save the rest. It sounds responsible, even noble, but the truth is, saving alone has never made anyone financially free. Saving protects you from today. Investing prepares you for tomorrow. One keeps you alive. The other helps you live. People who rely only on saving live in quiet fear. They measure every coffee, every light bill, every breath in terms of what it costs. But the wealthy measure the same things in terms of what they can create. They don't ask, how much will this cost me? They ask, how much can this grow? The danger of saving as a lifestyle is that it can turn into a cage. A person who saves everything slowly forgets how to take chances. They wait for the perfect time to invest, but perfect never comes. Meanwhile, inflation eats quietly in the background, one small bite at a time. We've been told that saving for decades will buy freedom. But that math ignores reality. Medical bills, economic downturns, aging parents, market changes. Freedom doesn't come from cutting costs. It comes from expanding options. The world doesn't reward those who hoard. It rewards those who move. Every dollar that just sits still is losing energy. Every dollar you put to work, even with some risk, is alive. You don't have to be reckless. You just need direction. Instead of asking how to save more, start asking how to earn differently. You can only shrink your expenses to zero, but your income has no limit. That's why financial freedom isn't a math problem. It's a perspective shift. When you stop fearing loss, you start seeing opportunities everywhere. That extra hour after work could be a business idea. That skill you take for granted could solve someone else's problem for a price. That fear of failure could become your greatest motivator if you let it. Look around. The biggest opportunities today aren't hiding behind office walls. They're in digital spaces, ideas that move faster than factories ever could. Artificial intelligence, automation, online education, creative work, all of them rewrite how people make money. And right now, those who adapt early are the ones who win. Technology doesn't kill jobs. It kills comfort zones. And that's exactly where most fortunes are made, just outside the zone of comfort. If you weren't born wealthy, that's not a curse. It's your clean slate. You have no legacy to protect, no rules to obey. You can experiment. You can fail loudly. You can learn fast. The rich once used land and factories. Today, anyone can use code, content, and creativity. That's the new real estate. The digital kind that expands with your imagination. And if you keep thinking like a worker when the world is rewarding creators, you'll always stay one step behind. Money is moving. It always has. The only question left is whether you'll move with it. The people who rise from nothing share one thing in common. They don't wait for permission. They borrow courage before they borrow money. They start before they're ready. They fail before they succeed. And somewhere along the way, something changes. They stop asking, how can I save more? And start asking, how can I grow faster? That's when they stop chasing freedom and start living it. Before you go, remember this. Wealth isn't a finish line. It's a mindset. Every decision you make with money either builds walls or opens doors. And the moment you start thinking like a creator instead of a survivor, that's the moment everything changes. If this video gave you something to think about, show a little love. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below to share your thoughts. Tell me one belief about money you're planning to change after today. And don't keep this to yourself. Share this video with someone you care about, a friend, a sibling, or anyone who deserves a better life with money. You never know who might need to hear this today. I'm wishing you luck, courage, and the patience to build real freedom. Feel free to explore other videos on this channel. Each one is made to help you grow, think sharper, and move closer to financial independence. Until then, take care of your mind, take care of your money, and I'll see you in the next video.